I could just pack my shit and move to Florida or to Texas. I could.
Then you should.
But, it's just, we literally just, go ahead.
Bro, look at it this way. You could. And if you don't, you're going to continue living your status quo life. And your status quo life, because of the community that surrounds you, is not something that you desire currently in your life. So, like, if you have the beliefs that you have, you need to go to places where they have your beliefs. I tell people, I'm like, hey, if you're a communist, come on to California, because this is the place where you will feel so at home. There are a bunch of communists here. You want communism? I'm in the Bay Area right now. Just go to Berkeley. You'll find one communist organization after another. You'll make all these communist friends. But you know what? If you're a freedom lover and you love guns and you love not being coerced to do things, then California might not be your place. Belgium might not be your place. So that essentially it's following the mindset of kind of like home is where the heart is. But if your heart is not fulfilled, then you're not at home. So you have to put your heart where it will be fulfilled, and therefore that'll be your home. Got some good comments here. The Virgo child says, not to be cliche, but the quote, maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming anything and more about unbecoming everything that really isn't you. Yes, I feel that more listening to your battles and challenges and seeing how you've evolved and overcome your challenges and more accepting of who you are. And Casper also said, correct, I was referring to the majority of people following the government rules and believes or the so-called gold brick road. So that's the thing. It's that government has appropriated the word society to mean society and the state equals the same thing. Therefore, when you talk about anarchy in a stateless society, that's why the average person has this disassociation to where they're like, okay, but without a state, there is no society. So without a state, therefore chaos. But that's just how government works, is that they take freedom lingo, they appropriate it, and then they say, this is ours. So, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments.
Will's saying lots of thugs living in Brussels. That's funny. There was a lot of thugs in Brussels. Yeah, that's true.
Sasha, let me ask you, last time I was in Europe, it was a long time ago, but I noticed some shit. The thuggery of Europe is a laughable joke to the average American's understanding of what being a thug means.
Bro, it's stupid. Look,
what are you gonna do? Stab me with a pocket knife, bitch?
Bro. But that's what I'm trying to say. I spent time in LA, right? As a kid, as a young kid in high school, and
some real thug shit out there, And
on my second day of school, the kid in my class got killed, got shot, and he was dead. Right? So that shit really happens. And I would tell my Belgian friends that, and they're like, what the fuck are you saying? Is that for real? That's just something that we see on a movie. So I'm like, no, that shit happens. But then you come out here and people complain about the thugs out here, and typically there's a very racial undertone in that comment.
Thug usually means a black person when they're talking about
brown, let's say brown out here, you know what I mean? People that look like me and you really out here in Belgium, you know what I mean? Turkish, Arab people. And so it's okay, I mean, it's bad, but have you seen what happens it's nothing compared to the shit that we see back in the US, man. Nothing.
In the US, if I get in some shit with some random person on the street, which I try not to because I'll expect to get shot. In Europe, and this is what my experience was in Europe, I remember, I was going out drinking a lot. I was younger, not as peaceful as I am today. So if somebody would talk shit, and Sasha, you remember me from college. So anyway,
yeah, bro, I remember that shit.
Fucking talk shit, you're gonna some shit's going down. So I just remember being in Spain, being in France, and like having those interactions with like these Spanish dudes and these French dudes and shit, and just being like, bro, like, this is a joke. You guys are so, I could see the weakness. Like, you don't have a weapon. You definitely don't have a gun, and you don't know how to fight. Like, and that's the funny thing, as just an American looking out to the rest of the world, where you're like, damn, bro, like, you guys are all really fucking docile. Like, look, somebody brought up David. David said something about France in the comments here. He said, like, you know, what about France or something? Like, they're rioting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but rioting, just because you're burning shit and fucking up cops, doesn't mean you're not still a fucking communist. It doesn't mean that when you take over the French government, how many revolutions have the French had in the last 300 years? Multiple, with new government, another French Republic and another French Republic. Have they got any more free? No. So just because people are protesting on the streets and fighting the status quo doesn't mean that they're not going to bring in a new, worse status quo. That's why if there is a revolution, there needs to be a strict philosophy for that revolution. And I would argue that's why the Ron Paul movement and the liberty movement that stemmed from that has to this day been so successful, because we're leading from a place of principle and nothing else. It is, these are our principles that we're setting out. The emotions don't really matter here. This is what we want, and that's it. So when a lot of these protests, when they go down, burn shit, things like that, it's only a reaction to the status quo. So creating a new system that's just reactionary to the status quo, well,
there's no principles.
We could just look at the countries that have done that. Iran. Their revolution was fought as a reaction to American imperialism. Yeah. As a result, when they overthrew the government, they're like, I guess we got to do this now. I guess we'll fucking figure it out. I don't know. Like, do you see, for us, we're like, yeah, if like the Ron Paul liberty movement would take over this country, what would we do? We would abolish like every federal agency. Like, you know, we would just go through and just start cutting government, you know? But that's the primary difference between our activism and, you know, everybody else's activism as far as the government stuff goes. The majority of people who are protesting against government are doing it because they just want their own form of government in place of the status quo. Like, I'm sure you've heard this, Sasha, a million times when you're having debates about socialist policies and government and things like that. Like, it always turns into like the person you're talking to saying like, well, if I was in power, I would do it this way and therefore it would work. Like, do you notice that? It's like, but if I could do it, this is what I would do. That's what every fucking tyrant in history has said. So why would your central planning be any different than their central planning? Like, every tyrant thought that they were smart enough to control millions of people at the same time. And every single time it's been tried, it has not succeeded. So
wait, let me ask you this, dude. Do you believe that? Because I believe in technology, right? And for the longest time, I've vested my hopes on and into like technology for like to save the day, right? I believe that technology inherently democratizes societies, right? And every technological revolution, you can see that it kind of like levels the playing field, quote unquote. That said, I feel like now we've taken a detour, and with the whole vaccine thing, like I feel like it's getting dangerous, right? Because it's very easy for tech to start working against that whole principle, start working against the principle of the democratization of society, right? So do you think like tech will eventually help or limit our progress?
I've been saying this for a long, long time. Technology will make the state obsolete.
Right. Thank you. Okay, good.
Like, and the question I ask you is like, well, what's your baseline for the tyranny that we have today? When you compare that to the last 4,000 years of tyranny and the way governments have worked, what we find is, again, nobody's breaking down my door when I say fuck Joe Biden. I'm not being executed. I'm not being jailed. The precedent for government history was exactly that. And granted, it still is in many of the places in the world, but there are now pockets of places that aren't like that. So I'm not worried. I mean, when we were in college, Sasha, I would question myself when I would bring up the vaccine topic. Like, when it's, time for Amir to write the Facebook rants and then the debate threads, which I'm sure you remember the long
bro.
that you were part of.
Yeah.
Like the one thing I would always kind of like think twice about, and you know me, I post every fucking thing I want, no thought at all. It was the vaccine thing. Like, fuck, man, I'm going to post about this. And I'm going to get like 5 doctors and 3 nurses call the state of California on me for whatever reason. Like, that's what people have been doing in the vaccine world. Like, they come after your job, they come after your personal life. Like, if they find that you were on Facebook being that anti-vax person, they're coming after you personally.
Mm-hmm.
Today, Sasha, you see every meme dump I post every fucking day. Like, there's always a fuck vaccines type meme in there. And what's happening to my social media following? It's going up and 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 up. Whereas what was happening, like, I actually just looked at my following statistics yesterday. For the first time, Sasha, I've never seen the statistics ever in my life on my insights. I gained 2 followers for every 1 I lost. My insights were switched. For the last 10 years, Sasha, I was losing anywhere from one follower gain for 1 follower lost, or 1 follower gain for 2 followers lost. Mm-hmm. It's switched now. And I'm like, I'm posting about vaccines all the time. Like, nobody's calling the government on me for there's a tipping point. Because without technology, I would not have been able to have those conversations with my friends who are now doctors. Those conversations that I had that were threatening my life 10 years ago, now those same homies who I was debating think twice, So that's the power. And another thing I'm realizing too is, going back to the very beginning of our conversation, the instant gratification. I'm sorry, but like, we have never had a free market, capitalist, non-government, stateless society before. We've never had that. So we are building it. And that doesn't happen in a 15-second TikTok video. The Ron Paul revolution started in 2007. Before that, plenty of people were fighting for freedom. Mm-hmm. It's been 14 years since I started this. And then before that, I could look back and say it's been 20 years since 9/11. But since the actual movement began, it's been since 2007, I would argue. That's 14 years of my life. My entire adult life has been devoted to obtaining a free society in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. And what is the result? Vaccine passports. I can't go into a club without proof of my medical,
whatever,
So on the face of it, it looks like there's so much more tyranny. But I'm actually my next post that I'm posting today is debate from the Republican debate in 2007, like the whole stage, then Ron Paul. They ask about a national ID card. I don't know if you remember this debate, but when the whole terrorism thing was happening, they're like, yeah, every American needs a national ID card. So we know who you are, where you're going, it was a vax passport. It was literally like the Republican version of the vaccine passport that we're seeing today. And every single person on the stage is like, yes, absolutely. Name, address, where you've been. Yes, yes. John McCain, Mitt Romney, every single fucking one of them. And then Ron Paul's just like, no, like, we're not doing that. I don't believe that. That goes against the Constitution. So we can just look back at that moment in 2007, then look at 2021. In 2007, Sasha, were you taking the libertarians seriously in America?
No, probably not.
In 2021, do you think that the Rand Pauls and the Ron Pauls and me and my friends of the world have influence now?
Most definitely.
Yes. American libertarianism in 14 years went from, when I first heard the word libertarian, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what the fuck is a libertarian? That was in 2007. In 2021, freedom philosophy has become such a dominant part of American culture. I would argue that the reason memes are so big today is because the Ron Paul people started posting them 10 years ago. I look back at like my memories from over 10 years ago, and we were making memes. We were making the original memes. And now all the memes you're seeing today, I argue, and hopefully I can make a documentary about this one day, like libertarians are the reason that meme culture is so dominant in this world. Libertarians are the reason that Bitcoin is a thing.
Right, that's for sure.
Libertarianism is why hemp is now federally legalized. Libertarianism is why I can build hemp houses now in America. I could not do that before easily. So that's what we've seen, Sasha. So if at any point you think that we're not winning, you just have to, it's the same thing as cryptocurrency, bro. When you zoom out, zoom out. Yup. So when I zoom out into the 2-year chart of freedom, I'm like, oh man, it's looked real fucked. But then I zoom out into 14 years and I'm like, whoa, that looks a lot better. Then I zoom out 100 years and then 1,000 years and then 5,000 years. So it's been like the state has been losing power and freedom has been gaining power. I would argue the inception of what like boosted freedom was the Enlightenment era. So say 500 years ago. So over the last 500 years, every century, we've seen an increase in human freedom. Now, you might not think that the Enlightenment is revolutionary, but it was revolutionary in the sense that it granted religious freedom for the first time. Then all these sects of Christianity popped up, Lutheranism, things like that, Protestantism. So because now I could say like, hey, I think Jesus walked left instead of right without being executed for the first time in history. So like that started like the freedom of expression in our society without getting executed for it. So for the last 500 years, we've seen this increase in human freedom. So the way I view where we are now in that 500 years of pulling the chart back on freedom is we're at the place now where we can start replacing government systems with freedom systems. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think we're like, I think we talked about this earlier. Maybe it was off camera, like you feel the energy in the air, right? Like when it comes to like the financial system, you see what they're trying to do and how they're kicking and screaming, trying to fight this evolution and this progress from a technological perspective. I mean, the ship is sinking, dude, and it's crazy to see that. It's unbelievable. Like I've fantasized about this shit since like 2005 or 6, not even politically, just from a technological standpoint, right? Because I wanted a decentralized world. You know what I mean? I was anti-bank, not even, politically charged, just because I saw the evil it was doing. You know what I mean? I saw how it was raping countries in South America and in Africa and all over the world. So I was like, I can't wait for the day that era ends. And it's maybe not going to be here next year, but it's coming, bro. It's coming. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, bro, and think about it, like just how big cryptocurrency has gotten in only 10 years. 10 years ago, when I used to talk to people about Bitcoin, it wasn't even a conversation of like, this can be money one day. And then guys like me were saying 10 years ago, this will be the world reserve currency one day. And now what we were talking about before, we're very close to one Satoshi equaling 1 cent. So, I mean, that evolution is just rapid now. Whereas before it was like Enlightenment a century, like the Renaissance a century, and like the American experiment, the Industrial Revolution, and, you know, like that was hundreds of years. Since 9/11 to today, look at what we've built.
Yeah.
Like all of those things I mentioned just about what the liberty movement has done in America, just in the last 14 years. So
exponential, bro.
And that right there, those are the things we did when we were kids with no money and no influence. Now we're adults, we have money, we have influence, and we have power. And we're not afraid. So that essentially just sets the environment for something that's going to change, that's going to be drastically better than what we see today. I mean, it's impossible to properly gauge it too, because if you lived in 1890, there's no way you would have been able to understand what 1960 was going to look like.
No,
you still probably were alive in that time, but there's no way you could have seen the differences. So the way I look at it is like when I'm pulling the chart out, I'm like, hey, Sasha, if we were at UCLA, we would not be able to have this conversation. Like we're recording live. We're doing a live stream right now, and we're recording for YouTube as well. So remember, like we would have had to use Skype.
Bro, we had flip phones.
Yeah. Yeah, the iPhone just came out. Yeah. Like right? Skype was the best thing we had for videos, and that was shit too. So that's what happens when we zoom out the timeline. When you're talking about decentralization, how cool is it that this is technically a decentralized conversation? The people that are watching this right now are watching this instead of watching the TV. So as a result, now me and you, make ourselves the dominant spokespeople for certain ideas. And when people give us their time, and shout out to everybody who's watching this right now, thank you so much for giving us your time. Like they chose us over the status quo. And that now needs another 10 to 20 years. And that's why, going back into the earlier thing with hemp homes and hemp fibers and plastics and all of these things, like the reason that people believe in the current status quo systems is because they have developed systems. So they get to go like, look at our government schools, look at our government hospitals. Like they have the systems in place. So all we need to do is, hey, look at the home I built over there that's exponentially cheaper than the home you live in. It's way healthier and it's way better for the environment. And you could buy it for 20% cheaper than you'd buy this fucking toxic paint plastics in these walls. Like I'm being toxified just by breathing in what's in your house. These are the things that people don't realize about how unhealthy lifestyles are. So, going back at the whole total lifestyle thing, I don't even live the total lifestyle yet because I don't live in a house that is not made with toxic materials.
Right, man. That's
fucking up my health too still. Like so that whole overarching theme of doing the full spectrum, like even to when you look at a guy like me and you're like, oh, he's like the healthy guy and this and that. At the end of the day, I still that's why I said, I was like, oh no, I still feel like I have so much.
Right. There's still room to grow, bro. And that's going to be like, it's going to be like that until deathbed, bro. Like it's going to be till our last breath. We're going to keep evolving. And I think that's like the beauty of it because the journey is fucking epic, bro. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like since my like enlightening or whatever you want to call it, like every single day of this journey has been epic. It's been awesome. And it's been fun, bro. So, I like that idea of having all this room to grow, all this potential still left. You know what I mean? To like optimize and to tweak.
Yeah, and I mean, here's another actually really good example based off of what you're doing now as a health coach and doing all this mindset work. I mean, let me ask you, do you think you can make even a penny doing this 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Oh no, bro. There's no way.
No
Right?
way.
There's no way. So
And
that's the mind-blowing part. Like this, like again, like technology enables my lifestyle at this point, right? That's just madness, bro. Like the fact that I'm able to just create some content, I share it on Twitter, I get people talking to me in the DMs, and then we hop on a call. And if they want to work with me, sure, let's work together. If they don't, that's cool too. Like that's insane. Like that's beautiful.
And they're all getting on a call with you. They're all interacting with you because they're all trying to better their lives. So that data point right there, where it's like, wow, all of these people might not be where we are right now, but they're trying to open the door. And they're at the door, they're knocking, and they're like, can somebody please like open the door and like hold my hand to come inside? Because I don't know how to get in, but if you can hold my hand to come in. So that's the revolution we're seeing here. Going back to the very beginning where I'm like, yeah, I still hang out with my standardized friends because those people still want the same things I want. They want to be healthy. They want to be happy. They want to be wealthy. They want to be balanced. They want to feel good. So, you know, all of our premises, that's a very important point as well, is that whether you're a fucking Nazi or a fucking commie or some religious authoritarian or an anarchist, we all actually want the same things. We all want to be happy and healthy. We all want to be surrounded by good people. That's the premise. So, you know, that's why I've always been super open to being friends with all different kinds of people from the political spectrum, even the most extremist types of people, because that's what I recognized was like, okay, so your premise is that like, if your ends justify the means, your ends are like, you're happy and healthy, right? The majority of people are going to say yes, like the huge majority of people are going to say yes. So I think like we are definitely in a positive transition. Like what we said, it's going to take another few decades, but in college over 10 years ago, people would tell me, they still say it today, we will not achieve a free society in our lifetime.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, those are really good ideas, not in our lifetime. That's fucking loser talk. That's loser talk. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up with that loser talk. I don't want to fucking hear it. Keep that shit to yourself. And that's really what it comes down to, is that just because you don't have a vision for it doesn't mean that I don't have a vision for it. Like, it's a business model. Like, if I tell, like, with my company, it's like, if I said the same thing, like, I'm going to make this one of the biggest companies ever. I don't know about that, bro. Like, how are you going to do that? Like, well, you're not the fucking visionary, so of course you don't know. The same thing with a free society. When you say, like, we can't achieve freedom in our lifetime, like, how are we going to fight the government? Or aren't warlords going to take over? Who's going to build the roads? Like, that, I don't need you to understand that. I understand that. Elon Musk makes rockets. Do you know how to make rockets? Do you know how to make rockets that go up and then land back down? No, you don't. And you don't like, so that's the whole thing. It's just because you don't understand something, you shouldn't shit on somebody else's visionary beliefs. Right, when they're saying those things, like, this is what I've realized too. When they say things like, freedom's a really good idea, we're not going to achieve that in our lifetime though. Like, those people usually don't even like freedom. They're not free people to begin with, the people who are saying that. So it's usually some opposition who's just trying to shit on your vision for a better future, because they don't want that better future. Like,
of course not, bro.
Like, California just show us, like, the people just voted for Gavin Newsom. They don't want a change. They like what they have. They like living in their pile of shit, and that's totally fine.
Because they're familiar with it, and people are just so conditioned from the moment they step into, what is it, kindergarten or something, like 3 years old, 4 years old, they are thrown into a system that will condition them to think within a specific framework, to stay within that paradigm. So people, when we talk about these concepts of a decentralized world, a stateless world, blah, 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 people don't have the proper paradigm even in their mind to be able to fathom that kind of stuff. It's impossible.
This is actually why I believe that the cryptocurrency world is the single biggest factor that people who want a free society have on their side, because what Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has done is essentially make people anarcho-capitalists without even realizing that they're like spitting Austrian economics and anarcho-capitalist philosophy.
Yes. 100%, bro.
That is how it's done. Like, I realized too, one of the big mistakes that I did over the years, which was beneficial, but we could have gotten more people, if the goal is to get as many people as possible, then instead of me debating and being like, hey, read this book about road building in a stateless society, like, you show them how something can, going back to the hemp houses, I have to prove to you that this can absolutely work better than what you're using right now. And all these statist friends that I have who love Bitcoin and cryptocurrency now, I'm just laughing like, weren't you the person who 5 years ago unfriended me because I was talking about this exact fucking idea? This is anarchy. This is literally the anarchy that you hated on me for. So
crypto and Bitcoin is like the libertarian, a technology made for libertarians, I feel.
The white paper of Bitcoin written by Satoshi Nakamoto is like a libertarian manifesto.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Exactly, bro. So it's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful. I'm super excited for it. Ooh.
Yeah, so that's, that's why I've put so much focus on the crypto stuff, especially over the last few years, because I've been like into cryptocurrency since Bitcoin first came out, but I wasn't really making too much content about it until the last few years. It was the last bull market, the 2017, 2018 bull market, that really got me to realize, like, whoa, all of these statist friends of mine who debate all of these topics with me and say this will never become a reality are literally turning it into a reality for us. And that's what it's done. I mean, the whole DeFi space just in itself in cryptocurrency is enough to just completely overturn all the financial systems.
It's insane.
Are in the status quo right now. So, 10, 20 more years of crypto, then all the other, that's going to kind of seep into all the other systems, because the way that I get to have my conversations now is, okay, but you already agreed to the premise of cryptocurrency. So that means you do agree that the state is illegitimate. Like you by putting your money here, it is implied. Yeah, you've agreed to these implied premises.
Yeah.
So when I hear these people in crypto talk about like, oh, we need government regulation, this and that, I'm like, hey, fool, wrong fucking world, bro. Step aside. This ain't the fucking place. Ain't gonna work. You can try, but we've created a system strong enough to where you can't coerce us. You can try, right. And they definitely continue to try, but
yeah, they will.
You won't be successful.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're saying like another 10 to 20 years. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that, bro. Like I
think 3 to 5, but like my conservative is like my liberal view of it is 3 to 5 years. My conservative is 15 to 20 years.
Looking at DeFi, man, because I dove into DeFi hard like the past 12 months.
Yeah, me too.
Why is anyone, it's like, hey, here, government, here's my money, or here, bank, here's my money, go make it be worth less, or go to DeFi and get fucking 20%. What are we talking about? Like, it's not even, and yeah, is there some sort of risk involved? Sure. But do you know what the rewards are? Like, come on, man. Like, yeah, it's exciting, man. That's all I can say. It's exciting, and I can't wait to see the whole freaking thing burn.
Yeah, man. I mean, we lived directly through the 2008 collapse. And that was essentially the age where men like us started needing to build our money to start buying property and this and that. And interestingly enough, it didn't happen then, but now, over 10 years later, now we're making it happen. But yeah, the DeFi space has, and the fact that so many people are getting into the DeFi space. I mean, look what you just said, like you get a 20% yield. What does that mean? We have to break down what that means when you say we have a 20% yield. What that means is that these motherfuckers who are running the central banks are cutting out that much middleman fee from me. And it's more than that because the DeFi platform's taking money on that yield too. And I'm still getting 20%. So you're fucking telling me that you crooks are taking all of that money that's mine as a middleman fee? Like that's what crypto does. It cuts out the middleman. So now you say I went from having to pay you to hold my money in your account. Now they're paying me 20%. Why the fuck would I ever use those systems again? And also, actually, what was it? Like yesterday, I think it was like whoever, let me see. I'm going to pull up the article. I don't want to spread any misinformation. So the Biden administration said, like, if you have a certain amount of money in your bank account, then the IRS is going to like monitor your account. What? So I'm like, bro, are you fucking serious? I'm closing my like. This is actually the transition I'm going through and with my business and my personal life right now. I'm trying to transition all of Specker into a DeFi style platform. My payment processors, my banking, like right now, I'm using the whole central banking apparatus as far as, the payment processors, the banks, all these things go. But I'm transitioning. That's another thing. Okay, we could fucking complain about this all we want, but if I'm not going to go find a solution for it, then I need to shut the fuck up. So, but those solutions aren't easy. My life is not going to be easier, but it's going to be more free. And that freedom is going to make me happier. So I'll take a harder freedom over a softer tyranny any day.
Yeah, bro. We're meant to do difficult things. I think like that's another thing, talking about like society as a whole and our men in general. I think we've become weak and soft and conditioned to expect that life is supposed to be easy and kind of like smooth sailing. No, man, we've been historically evolutionary programmed to do difficult shit every single day. So yeah, just to tie to your point about like doing that is going to be a little harder, but it's going to make you a lot happier. Why? Because when we do difficult things, it rewards us with more happiness, with more energy, with all of that stuff. So I like that. It's good.
Oh, that's a really good point you just brought up. Like the more energy expenditure we give to something, the happier we're going to be, which is absolutely true. Like you put the hard work into something. I mean, I'm bringing up my handstands again. Like that hard work that you put in makes me way happier now over if I didn't put in that work and I didn't give that energy and my handstand was still like this instead of perfectly straight and extended and locked like this, So it crosses over into everything.
Exactly. Like in every realm of my life, the big switch for me came when I was able to like transfer that mindset from like my nutrition, the nutrition game to like business and to mindset and to other things. Because I said, okay, if I can do these difficult things that I'm doing very disciplined in the nutrition, if I can apply that to other parts of my life, I'm going to be winning, right? And what did I start doing? Instead of like running like a bitch like I did my whole life, every time I felt scared or I knew something was difficult, I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to step into it, step into the fear, step into the difficulty. And I did it. Why? Because it makes me happy every single time. The days that I really don't feel like, I don't know, man, like working out or doing a task that's really difficult, never have I like gotten out of that thinking, oh, I wish I didn't do that. I always end up with more energy, with feeling happier. You know, that's the lesson, dude. Like, know that humans are made to do difficult shit to create energy.
Whoa. I just had like a mind blown moment with you saying that. like
I've had like 17.
It's profound. It's very profound. And I guess, you know what? That's a really good place for us to end off, which is your point. How you said, you're like, I started with the diet thing. I realized I can just cross over that same exact discipline into my business and all these other areas of my life. And that is the real takeaway here, is go and become disciplined in one thing really well. That's how I did it too. Mine was diet. I started with a diet thing as well, diet and exercise. Like, I have to eat like this every day. I have to exercise every day. And through that discipline, yeah, it really crossed over into my meditations. And then most importantly, business, which is, if you can live the lifestyle of just eating healthy and exercising all the time, that shit's fucking hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And if you can stay disciplined through that, then
you can do anything, bro.
Looking at the business work I have to do today, and I'm like, yo, the packaging these orders, writing some social media posts, responding to some, messages, and designing some stuff. That's nothing compared to the fucking misery I've had to put in to do a straight handstand.
Right.
Like, or learn how to planche or front lever, or like any of the, advanced calisthenics moves. The amount of hours and time I've had to put into that far exceeds that. But all I had to do was like, okay, if I put that many hours into a handstand and I could do a handstand, then I just need to put those hours into my business, and then my business will succeed. And I've done exactly that. And the trajectory of my business has looked like this for the most part. And every time I don't work as hard as I would in my business, the same as I would in my diet and my exercise, my business starts going like this. Just the same as if I stop doing my diet and my exercise, my mind and body is going to look like this too. So I guess it's just really important to realize that discipline is one thing that can cross over into every aspect of your life.
Master it in one aspect of your life, and you'll be able to like master it in every aspect of your life. That's power right there, dude. So
that's power right there. Hey, Sasha, give me a profound few sentences to end on, a message to the people that are watching this right now so that they can live a healthier, happier life. Go.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Okay, I would say being average is good enough to start. First of all, being average is good enough to start. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, these guys, or what the fuck are they talking about? I wish I knew more about this stuff. Understand that when you start out, people have this expectation of being perfect, of being, proficient at something. Fuck that. Just accept that you're average right now, and you're going to be great in a little bit. Just put in discipline and get to moving. Take imperfect action and give yourself permission to fuck up. Boom. Like, that's all I got.
Yep. Get to moving.
Yes, sir.
I love that, bro. I love that. Yo, this is a perfect place to end it. Sasha, where can everybody find you on social media and connect with you?
Find me on Twitter. My handle is @MindsetSasha. That's the place that I hang out most of the time. That's where I spend most of my time creating content, helping people and trying to like drop value. I do have a YouTube channel. My name is right there, Sasha Sadri. Like, you'll find it. But yeah, Twitter is the main place to be. So hit me up there and connect with me. I love getting to know more people, getting to know like-minded people. So that's
And I have to add to that your Twitter feed is one of my favorite things about going on Twitter in a sea of piss and shit Whenever I see
Appreciate
one
that,
of
bro.
Sasha's tweets pop up, I'm like, oh, I need to read this. This is going to be good.
Oh man, I appreciate
Shout
that,
out to you,
Amir.
bro. Keep up the awesome work. I love you
You
so
too,
much,
bro.
man. Thank you for
Love you, bro.
chatting with me about all this today. If you're watching this, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Go be happy and healthy, and we'll chat with you again soon. I love you all.